Brandon, I have always liked Splinter figures. Haha! I made another funny!
Go Ninja! Go Ninja! Go! Anyway, folks, you've made another terrific choice. This is Splinter, the Radical Rat himself, the mentor of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And I commend you for not clicking out of the video immediately after you saw the opening. So thank you for sticking with us.
Yes, we really appreciate it.
If you could humor us and please stick with us, that would be awesome.
Yes, there will be nothing but lewd jokes, man, the entirety of
yes.
this review, because Splinter is one of our favorite characters to assert is sort of a perverted old...
He's kind of a filthy old man.
Yeah.
And he's just sort of... He's living in the sewers for one thing, and he's already a rat.
Yeah.
And this figure accentuates so much of what we already think about the character. But
this is like an extremification. This is like a condensed version of all of our feelings about Splinter over the years.
And plus, it helps that it's a really cool little figure.
Yes,
Despite some shortcomings, it's a cool little figure.
Yeah. So let's take a closer look at Splinter.
Turtles!
You know, we've joked about Splinter for so long. You know, Splinter is one of our favorite fictional characters to... You know, we love Splinter, but we can't help but belittle him and make him out to be something that, something
this
very...
is the only toy review you'll hear belittled.
Something very...
This is it.
Something very perverse. So, we're always excited for a new Splinter figure, and especially this one, which sort of lives up to our Splinter expectations of him being sort of a little creep, and it's... Because it's just so well done. If it were poorly sculpted, it wouldn't, fulfill that notion for us. But he's just I'm just going to jump right into the sculpt because I think it's terrific. The face, again, this is the most rat-like Splinter of all, and he's very, Japanese culture infused with the facial hair and the kind of the sumo wrestler hair tie in the back. But so all this really good sculpted detail on the face and. A lot of little appendages, like I said, with the facial hair hanging down off the chin and the nose. That's really cool. And then there's a lot of good texture on the robe, which I wouldn't have suspected. I would have thought it would be very flat. So I really appreciate that. And then the hands and the feet and the tail are all this good sort of decrepit sculpting. Like if you've ever seen, rodents' appendages close up, they're a little elongated like that, a little... I guess the right word is ratty. Of course, he is a rat, but like I said, there the feet and the tails, and you can see in classic Splinter style, he actually has the kind of the bandages wrapped around his feet. That's very cool. And then the tail has the rat lines sculpted on it, of course.
As for the paint application, there's some hits and misses with this figure, but overall, there's some pretty satisfying paint out. First thing, I'd be remiss without just going ahead and getting it out of the way. Eyes are a little strange in terms of paint here, and it's a problem that we've seen on a lot of samples. As you can see, this eye looks very normal. The black meets up with the top of the sculpt there, and it looks just very traditional Splinter. Get over here and whoa, he looks like he's woken from a nightmare like very suddenly, like oh where am I? So you got two eyes, and one's a little different than the other. I might take like a Sharpie, just put a little black up there. It'll instantly fix the problem with the eye. As you can see, just the shadow I'm casting right now, you can get an idea of how that would just fix the look. Mm-hmm. But for now, he's a little bug-eyed on one side.
Yeah, but if you want a Splinter who's just terrified all the time, it's not a problem,
That's right. That's what Brandon wants. And the other thing to mention, I think, is this pink gets just a little splotchy on his face and a little uneven. That may be what they're going for. But I would have maybe rather had a little more gray rather than the pink. However, we get down to the robe, and this is where the real quality paint work comes in. As you can see, it looks really nice. You've got a really cool black. You've got even things like the buckle over here is painted in. You got the Japanese symbols on the sides. Have this on the back, which is painted. And the Nick Turtles figures were almost never painted on the back. So it's really cool to see a major paint application, Goku style, might I add, right here on the back. The hood back here is painted. It's entirely accurate to the back of Splinter as we've seen in the trailer. But really, the robe and the paint we get with that and the symbols, really, it comes together very well. Like I said, I might have liked a little more paint on the nose and just, on the fur up here and a little less of the splotchiness of the pink. But hey, nitpicks, really nicely painted figure. Also the accessory, no paint, just cast, but still very nice.
One of the areas where Splinter does falter somewhat is the articulation. It's not to say he's unarticulated or limitedly articulated. He's certainly more articulated than the newer Splinter figure from the Nickelodeon line, but not the most out of this movie line. He's got a hinge and a cut at the shoulder, and then he has a cut at the elbow instead of a joint. And I think it works just fine. You know, I think I get a good range of movement, and he's able to use his sword appropriately, so that's good. And of course he has a cut at the wrist. He has a cut at the neck, but because the collar is so high, you can't really get it around all the way. Not that his head needs to be spinning around 360 or anything, but it does obstruct.
If he gets really excited or aggravated about something, he's like, whoa,
right. The legs are articulated. There are cuts at the hips, but the robe obstructs them so much that you can't really do anything with it. And I wish the tail, I think, is cut, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd read online that somebody else was saying that it was supposed to be cut, but it's very hard to tell because as soon as you move it, it goes right back into position.
Yeah, because again, it's the robe is sculpted so that it holds the tail in place. So I'm pretty sure it is cut. It definitely feels like it is, or looks like it is. But it wouldn't matter if it wasn't. We'd never know the difference because you just kind of wiggle it around anyway. So so you really got nothing going on with the lower body. But I think the arms are very well articulated, and Splinter is not the kind of character maybe that needs to have like 6-point articulated legs or anything. So I don't really miss it. And one of the things is that his stability is very good. He stands very well.
As for accessories, we've got a couple of really neat things going on here. As you can see, Splinter's got this cool little pendant that hangs around his neck. Unfortunately, it's not painted here, but that could be easily fixed. Get a little bit of gold on there would be nice. I really, really like this. It's cool. Totally removable. If you don't like it on Splinter, you just take it right off and get something a little more traditional, I suppose. But I really like it. Anything that can hang off my figures and kind of make them a little more interesting visually, I'm always for.
Yeah.
So usually I have to slide that through his Fu Manchu here, and then it goes right back on pretty easily without any trouble. The other accessory that's super neat is his sword. Now, the sculpting here is just awesome. He comes with a sheath, and as you can see, it's coated in Japanese symbols. And if I can get kind of more of a focus, yeah, I should do it. You can see what I'm talking about. Really good work in terms of sculpting. On the back, we have more kanji symbols. Right here, we can just unsheath the sword. Comes right out. This is more of a soft, kind of rubbery plastic. And as you can see on the hilt, we've got sort of a katana look. Very nice. And goes in either hand very, very well. So you can recreate the trailer moment that we've seen so far, where it appears he's facing off against Shredder. So, very nice. I also like to keep the sheath in the other hand.
And I might add that I appreciate that Splinter is coming with a sword for the first time, or is shown sword fighting.
And not a cane.
Yeah, he's got no cane or bow and arrow, or things like he's had before, or using Michelangelo's nunchucks. So Splinter with a sword is very cool, I think.
Well, if the turtles get caught in a giant fish net, hopefully he can just throw the sword. Get them down. He doesn't need that.
Maybe he could just throw the sword through somebody's face. To help them out.
He could always just bring a pair of scissors and gradually cut them down, or some pruning shears and get them down.
The most recently released Splinter is, of course, the figure for the 2012 animated series, so it's a good comparison to make. You can certainly see that there's a little bit of influence taken, things like the facial hair and kind of the posture. The legs are actually very similar. But the color scheme is completely different. The stature is different. Splinter in the new animated series is more human height, whereas Splinter in the new film is really diminutive. For the first time ever, he's been portrayed like that, actually. He's always been sort of human-sized, and now more akin to the actual size of a rat. So that's a really cool idea, I think. But it's just interesting to see, Splinter has changed... just as much, more than the Turtles over the years, and this is certainly a pretty stark departure just within a couple of years. So, but it's still Splinter. I mean, he still has the same sort of basics that the character needs to be identifiable. I mean, I know this is Splinter as soon as I look at him, and not just because the name is on the package. It's there's nobody else it could possibly be. So that is Splinter versus Splinter. Jared, I have been up on the roof.
What have you been doing, Master?
Coming to a conclusion. Mm-hmm. And I've concluded that I really like this figure.
I almost like this figure as much as I like Elvis and Blue Hawaii.
Oh, well,
telling you.
as we said before, we really love Splinter in general, and for a myriad of reasons, some of them not legitimate. But this is a great addition to our collection of Splinter action figures.
You can't get better than than a small person rat
and a little ratty rat.
And he's like hanging around giving ancient wisdom. I'm sorry, seriously, we're serious TMNT fans. Don't. But he's funny.
He is, yeah.
I like Splinter.
Yeah, absolutely.
This figure, as we talked about, he's a really cool little figure. I think he has a lot more shortcomings than Brandon does.
Yeah.
In a few areas. The articulation really should have been better for the figure. I feel like he really needed those elbow hinges, and that's the main thing. Also, he's got practically no leg movement. There's not even,
that's one thing I was disappointed in.
Not even much use in giving him the cuts that they do give him at the hips because there's no real point in it. He's not really got any leg movement.
But I like that he comes with really three very good accessories because he has the sword and the sheet and the necklace, which is removable, and it's got some great paint work, and it's my favorite sculpting out of this line so far, definitely.
Although I wouldn't go as far as say that, I still think that Brandon's got a good point, with a lot of the accessories he comes with, and the overall look of the figure is really good. Mm-hmm. So I would definitely at least give Splinter 3.5 stars.
I would come in more at 4 out of 5 stars. I think he's on the level with the best figure in this line so far, which I think the best is the Raphael in disguise, but I think Splinter's on that same level, even though I still do prefer the Raphael.
So, just like I said earlier, when you're out looking for the figures and you find all the figures and maybe there's only one of each, chances are what you want to do is go with one of the characters that aren't the turtles. The turtles will be readily available throughout the whole line.
Yeah, consistent. And there will be multiple versions.
Splinter, Foot Soldier, Shredder, Raph in disguise even. Those are the ones you want to go for, if you can only get a couple. So it's a great figure, and I can't wait to see what he does in the film.
Yes.
So it's going to be wonderful.
Well, folks, thanks for checking out our review of Splinter. We appreciate the view. If you would, please rate, comment, subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you're a returning viewer after a long absence, we appreciate you being patient with us.
Thank you for sticking with us.
Check out the rest of our Ninja Turtles reviews. They should be all over our channel by now, or will be added soon. So thank you again.
Also, do not forget, you are all my sons. You cried during that. I know you cried during that scene.
I did.
Because I did too.
I know.
I did too.
Anybody? He's such a good dad. A big surprise.
I've come to the conclusion that I also like this
But it's one of my favorite figures in the line. Probably my number 2 pick.
Whoa!